Good evening, meatheads. It is Zach coming back to you for another video. We just got done cleaning up the bike, and now I'm going to go make it dirty again by going for the first ride of the weekend. Oh, it's a windy day, guys. We got some storms coming along the way tonight. Now I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place. There we go. I feel like my camera is angled downward. I don't like that. Oh yeah, it is a little bit. Hopefully that's a better angle. Been a little bit absent on recording. I mean, the wife and I had our first anniversary. We've been married now for a year, and we took a weekend to just go and have a fun time. We went down to the Omaha Zoo. We stayed in a Hilton down there in Omaha, right in downtown. So we had a good time. We just chilled out, had our own little mini vacay for a little while before we go on an actual vacation, but it's for a wedding and all that, so it's hardly a fun vacation. Nonetheless, I want to talk to you guys about a video, or not a video. I want to talk to you guys about some ideas I've been tossing around in my head about how if somebody was going to ask me how I would change up Harley's touring lineup. So the touring lineup now, what I still consider is everything that's on or is on a similar frame to the road glides and the street glides, the FLH frame and the FLT frame. They're both the same frame, so that's what I consider to be the touring platform. I know that on Harley's website, the Softail Heritage Classic and all that is on there. I don't really consider the Heritage. The Heritage to be in the same kind of league or the same kind of touring as what we would consider the street glide and the road glide, but nonetheless, I got to talking with a guy on Instagram. You can go and follow him. His name is Big Mike Street Glide, Australian guy. He supports the channel, he supports me, talks to me oftentimes on Instagram, but I got to talking with him about the subject of how I would change the touring lineup. And basically, to put it in short, I would just simply put more options available and try and reduce the price. And what I would do basically is I would change up what comes standard and even give people more options with the touring bikes to have more bare bones options. So as we know, most of the touring lineup, other than the electric glide, come with some sort of stereo and entertainment system. To be honest, I don't think that a lot of young guys are interested in that, because most oftentimes what you run into, and what a lot of people run into with the speaker systems, is that any speed above 65, 70 miles an hour, you really can't hear what's going on anyway with the stereo. You can't hear your music playing through the speakers, you can't hear the radio, you can't hear a lot of things. So they end up running in-helmet audio, running a Cardo, a Senna, a Lexan, any one of those options they end up running instead of the stereo. So to put it simply, this is what I would do. I would have a base model road glide that comes with no stereo, got chrome components, standard saddlebags, standard hard color match saddlebags, 107 motor, coming in at around that 18.5 to compete with the Electra Glide Standard. Give a actual entry-level fixed fairing option for people out there. You know, maybe even not color match the inside fairing, the inner fairing. Just be like, oh, it's plain like flat black instead. You know, the wrinkle black, I guess is what they kind of call it on most of the engines and stuff. Like that bare bones black, okay? From there, I would go like make a Road Glide and Street Glide Plus. And the Plus model, I would design it and set it up to be a little bit more. Maybe you get the option of stereo. You can have like this generation of head unit and stage one audio. But where I would change things is I would give that model the 114, and that come in at around 24, 23, depending on if you want the head unit or not, or the stereo. Like, give people the option that it doesn't have to have the stereo, so then it actually reduces the price a bit, you know? From there, what I would do, the specials will stay relatively the same, except again, add in the option of getting rid of the stereo system and the head unit, so it can reduce the price a bit. Or you can keep it. I would also make it optional whether people want the stretched bags or the standard bags, and I would do that on the previous Plus model. But the specials will be special, and they will get the 117 motor. Now you're kind of catching the vibe here of where I'm going with this kind of listing of how I would market and revamp the touring lineup. Because the next thing would be like the Cvos, the Ultras. Well, actually, let's get to the Ultras. The Ultras, I think the Ultras also need the 117 motor, because you're going to be laden down with either a passenger or with gear and all that. You need a bigger motor, need a little bit more power, a little bit more grunt down low. Give them the 117 motor as well. And I think that'd be really the only change, because those guys get a little bit more for their money anyway with that model. And I also don't really follow those Ultras and whatnot very hard, so I don't really know like what comes standard. And but now the top of the line, the Cvos, the pinnacle of what Harley Davidson is supposed to be. Wouldn't change a damn thing on them, except I would put the 131 in there, standard. Now I know that there's going to be some guys out there that are going to say, well, they can't do the 131 because it's not going to meet emissions and blah, blah, blah. I understand. But at $45,000, do you really care if it meets, if you have to pay a little bit of extra emissions tax, which is going to be a couple $100, versus having an 131 cubic inch monster that's putting out 131 horsepower with a Harley cam? Not to mention that once you're done with the warranty, you probably can throw in an S&S or a fueling high lift cam, a 521 from fueling or a 550 from S&S, and now you're going to be pushing like 150 horsepower, 160 horsepower from the factory. Like, why not do that? You know, that's just a cam upgrade. You already have the displacement there. Now it's just changing out the cams, pipes, and intake in a good tune, and you're in a whole different ballpark for an engine. So that's kind of been, that's just like the engine kind of layout, I guess, how it would change, what bikes get what motor. On top of that, I think what Harley needs to do is that you should be able to spec out your performance bagger, if you're interested in a performance bagger, that is. I will say, if you're interested in a performance bagger, I would love there to be an option from Harley for any of those tiers that I listed. The the standard, the plus, the specials, and the Cvos. Excuse me. I'd love to see them actually come out with factory bar and risers for all of those tier levels. And I would also love the option to have a little bit better front suspension and rear suspension, like their emulsion line come standard on them, or like I shouldn't say standard, but have it be an option, so that like, oh, I got a little bit more adjustability and preload stiffness on a base Harley as an option, instead of having the head unit and stereo. So like for me personally, under my like hypothetical revamp, I would personally still buy a Road Glide Special, but I would opt out of having the head unit and stereo, so no speakers or anything, just a bare bones cluster in the front, factory T-bars and risers, maybe move this gauge into here instead, so it's up in my line of sight better, standard bags, not stretched bags, just standard bags, and then upgraded front and rear suspension so that I get a little bit more travel, a little bit more stiffness, so it feels like I'm a little bit in between having a cloud that I'm riding on and an actual, like, I mean business kind of suspension, you know? That's how I would spec out my bike, because then when I get it, I have already bars done, I have better suspension, so then all I have to do is really focus on the performance of the motor. And then if I really, really want to, I can upgrade the suspension if I absolutely feel like it's necessary. But otherwise, I mean, like, I personally don't have a problem with Harley suspension on the touring bikes, but everybody is different, so why not give everybody the option to upgrade it straight from Harley, you know, or have it in the Screaming Eagle catalog, so that way you pick, like, say you're going to go to a dealership and you see this new Road Glide Special with the 117 motor, but it's got a head unit and speakers, you can be like, well, what I would like to have is not have the head unit speakers. I'd like to upgrade the suspension to Harley's emulsion line or whatnot. Well, so that way you can get the bike that you want right away without having to worry about how you're going to pay for the upgrades, because you can't always finance those upgrades, you know. And with more options from Screaming Eagle to be able to upgrade your suspension and whatnot, like, why not? Like, why not be able to finance it into your loan, and it only adds like 10-15 bucks a month versus, you know, $300, $400, maybe even $1,000 out of pocket. My 2 cents. I think that would be an interesting change up to Harley's touring lineup, and it's something that I feel like, since they have this new 128, 138 motor, why not trickle down the power to the other models and maybe try and work it so that the prices stay the same on those models, so people really feel like, hey, it's worth spending $25,000, $27,000, or even $30,000 on a special, I should say, because now I get a 117 stage 4 motor that I can really mod the crap out of, you know. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to be the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to hear what you guys think about this proposed change up to the lineup of Harley Davidson. Do you agree with it? Do you think that they need to just actually completely redesigned the frame, which I'm not saying that's not a bad option either on their part? Or do you think that Harley's not going to be around, so it won't even matter if they should upgrade the lineup or not? I would be happy to hear what you guys think it down in the comments. If you like the video, obviously please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I'm making content almost every week. Yeah, that's a quick little sum up. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video as I make my way to this stop sign so that I can safely make a left-hand turn. I'll see you in the next video, guys.